Yes.
So you know you're talking about the legislation in June. How does that relate to Sharia law and enforcing it in the time of the Islamic state? So
It's a very good question. There's no compulsion in the deen for the one who didn't accept Islam. But when someone submit to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he submit to the all Sharia. So that's why someone, if you're going to accept the deen, then you're going to accept the whole deen, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "O you who believe, enter Islam in as a whole. You don't leave part and do part." The Sharia law that is, which is the apostasy, is punished by death penalty. But however, in the practice is different on what we read in the books. It's not, for example, many people, they left Islam. Who's after them? Right? The apostasy in Islam has to be taken within its context. When someone accepts Islam, he accepted willingly, he practiced willingly, then he wants to turn away from Islam. Say, now we're going to turn away of Islam, there is a law related to it, which is that if someone is going to leave Islam, he's going to be punished. But the punishment depends on the context. It's very important how it does. Because the context in any society that they ruled by a secular world, by constitution, and I have said it before, anything that done against the government is called action of treason, right? And the action of treason is penalized and punished by death penalty. In Islam, the constitution is the faith. The constitution is the faith. So it is the person who's going to do it in a Muslim society is a treason for the whole member of the society. For the whole member of the society. And then one also, to be fair, because many people, they throw it just to show harshness of Islam, rigidity of Islam, and it is the most merciful, because anyone who commit any action of spying or things against the government, it's like execution right away. In Islam, turning against Allah, turning against His Creator, turns against His Prophet, turns against His people, His own parents, everybody, and the society, its norm, its standard, its customs, its morals. It's a big fitna, it's a pure treason. But yet, this person is not executed. If he openly say it, then they bring him a group of scholars, and this is in the books of the fiqh. So they want to see first if this person is truly what he's saying is true. He said maybe because they have to prove the evidence. I mean, look how many hypocrites lived with the Prophet ﷺ, considered as a Muslim, treated as a Muslim, being honored, nobody was transgressed and everything. So someone, if you want to be careful and say, I'm a Muslim, nobody will touch them. As Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, someone asked him, how are we going to deal with these people now who do not believe, but among us they proclaim belief? He said, that was in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, that he knows Allah sent him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, what in the heart of the hypocrite. Today, we are only ordained to deal with people with that which they convey to us. We say, I'm a Muslim, you are a Muslim. I'm going to honor you as a Muslim. So this is a fact. So the fact the person who wants to go say, I'm not a Muslim, in a Muslim society, ruling by the way of Allah, this person, he is a traitor. Why? Because he can keep his non-Islam, and if in his house they can do all the sins, nobody had the right to enter to their house, because that's the privacy is sacred in Islam. Then if he announce it, they send in people of knowledge, they say, to justify with the proofs, if you must, you say, what you're saying, this is going to lead you to this is going to do this for you, this is going to be the wrath of Allah, this is going to end up by you having this type of management of had. He will say, yes, I know. And who will say this, such a thing? You say, if you said, oh, I didn't know that this happened, I'm sorry, they give him, they let him loose. Now, if he insists they will be given 3 days to reflect, to make tawbah. They call it istitab. After these 3 days, still insisting this person is a poor action of treason, that's what they do. So it's not something like, very light that they do. No, it's something very structured. It's the last resort that they have in a context of Muslim society that provide for the society justice, because it's very important. When you say rules by the way of Allah, many people say rules by the way, like everybody is under control. No, rules by the way of Allah means that the society is being provided two things: justice, for social justice, and the family to live their happiness, to have that cohesion. So if Islam does not provide the justice and happiness to the people based on their law, they do not implement the laws, because they have to come to a maturity like the Prophet ﷺ did. Okay? So that's how it happens. So there's no compulsion of the deen. But when it comes to the Sharia, becomes totally different, because he's adhering to a faith that is a way of life, that is a constitution that rules the whole society, upon which is based the morality, the customs. Look, even when it comes to start a household, everything in the name of Allah, everything in the way of the Sharia. That is different. Inshallah is clear. Any other question? So we were talking about the name of Ar-Rahman or Rahim. Ar-Rahman or Rahim, and we mentioned the both difference between them. So we mentioned what is Ar-Rahman, what is Ar-Rahim, and the difference, the two differences. We said the first, Ar-Rahman bestows his mercy upon all his creation in this life, and upon the believers in the hereafter. Rahim, specially merciful to the believers in this life. But we said Ar-Rahman indicates an intrinsic attribute of God, representing the complete and comprehensive mercy that is inherent to his nature, subhanahu wa ta'ala. It reflects a quality of mercy in general and inclusive sense. Ar-Rahim, it points to an active attribute related to the manifestation of the mercy in interaction with his creation. So Allah is Ar-Rahman. Rahmati wasi'at kulla shay. Ar-Rahim is the way this rahmah is manifested, to see it in the whole creation, to see it, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give his rahmah to whom he will. There's rahmah amma is manifested for all the creation, and for the human being, believer and non-believer. And there's a special rahmah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give to the believer. قَالَ فَسَأَكْتُبُهَا لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ, those who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and mindful. So here, it signifies that an executor of mercy, portraying him as a compassionate in his dealing with his creation and in meeting their needs. So thus, these two names speaks to different facets of God's attribute, with Ar-Rahman emphasizing an inherent quality attribute, Ar-Rahim highlighting an active and merciful engagement with his creation. Okay, so this is a good point that to mention, in the difference between Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Aspect related to Allah's mercy, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Vastness of Allah's mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-A'raf, we already have, I think, Surah Al-A'raf. So what ayah this one? 156. I think this one, no, this is Al-Baqarah. I think Al-A'raf is here. 156. 156. Musa alayhi salam. Subhanallah. Now reading Surah Al-Baqarah, you understand why Allah started the Quran with Yahud, with Bani Israel. Subhanallah. Huh? Allah help you to see the Quran exactly, subhanAllah, what they have. To be fair, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, He said, those who disbelieved from the Bani Israel. So the disbeliever of Bani Israel, because among them are believers, and among them are not, like these people. But these people, they portray the worst of the creed that Allah mentioned in the Quran, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Musa alayhi salam, he chose 70 men from among his people to our appointment. When they were seized by an earthquake, he cried, "My Lord, have you willed, you could have destroyed them long ago, and me as well." Because when they came, they heard Musa speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, said, "We will not believe in you till we see God." This is the type of people. So look, Musa alayhi salam, what he said. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he punished them and he destroyed them. So they died right then. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrected them back because of the dua of Musa. He said, Ya Allah, will you destroy us for what the foolish among us has done? This is only a test from you, by which you allow whoever you will to stray and guide whoever you will. You are our guardian, so forgive us and have mercy on us. Say, have mercy on us. You are the best forgiver. Then Musa alayhi salam, qala, ordain for us what is good and decree for us in the world that which is good and also in the hereafter. Indeed, we have turned back to you, Ya Allah. So look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what He said. He said, my punishment I afflict with it whom I will. But my mercy encompasses all things. So I will decree it specially for those who fear me and give zakat and those who believe in our verses. So how it encompasses everything, but Allah is going to give it to those who fear Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning here there's two types of mercy. That the general mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as being the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will not abandon His creation. He'll provide for them, He will give them. Still, the rain is coming, the sun is rising, everything, subhanAllah, as you see it, unbeliever and non-believer. That's the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the special rahmah, the rahmah of the guidance, the rahmah of the iman, the rahmah of support, the rahmah of help, the rahmah that comes with the tranquility, all that type of beautiful rahmah is going to be specially for the believers. And when I say especially for the believer, not like so-and-so and so-and-so, whoever who wish to be a believer. There's these people who come in, mashallah, to Islam with what's happening in Palestine. There is a person, in those videos, the person said, I prayed to the God of universe, telling him, guide me to the religion that pleases you. And the person said, when I came to read the Quran, my heart opened up. I love this. I see the truth in it. Then I realized that He answered my dua. So that's the mercy. It's not like for so-and-so. No. For whoever who comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَسَأَكْتُبَ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also describe it and restriction for to be like who the follower of the truth and the bearer of the truth, the Prophet. الَّذِينَ يَتَّبِعُونَ الرَّسُولَ النَّبِيَّ الْأُمِّيِّ. They are the ones who follow the messenger, the illiterate prophet, whose description they find in their Torah and the Gospel. He commands them to do good and forbids evil, so on. Okay. So this is the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قَالَ وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He opened all the gates of His rahmah. And He said, قال قل يا عبادي الذين أسرفوا على أنفسهم لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. So the special rahmah for the believer. And whoever who wish to be a believer. And a person might come to a time where they believe or they think that they did so bad that God will not accept them because all of the ill deeds they have done. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning this beautiful ayah, this beautiful ayah. قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ. You do, all the excesses possible in ill doing, subhanallah. لا تقنطوا, do not despair from Allah's mercy. And to see how great and big is the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Read here. Say, O Prophet, O my servant who have transgressed against themselves by sinning, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. All sins. Indeed, it is He who is forgiving the merciful, subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ in a hadith said, if the believer knew what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has of punishment, no one will be desiring or wishing for paradise. Why? Then someone will be only thinking to be spared from the hellfire. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the true winner? فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ, the one who's removed from the fire, barely pushed away from the fire. That's the truth. Because if you are out of the hellfire, you are in Jannah. So the issue, it's not to get to paradise. The issue is not to enter hellfire. رَبَّنَا قِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Because if Allah shield you from hellfire, then you're going to be in paradise. So avoiding something, the other one will come as automatic. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ said, if the believer knows what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has out of punishment, no one will be wishing for paradise. وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُ الْكَافِرُ, and the disbeliever, if they know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has as a rahmah, none of the disbeliever will despair from the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He called His wahi, the revelation called rahmah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Hud, قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ أَرَأَيْتُمْ, O my people, consider, or have you not seen, if I am on a clear proof or clear evidence from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He provided me a mercy from Him. The mercy is the guidance, the mercy is the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Salih the same, قال وآتاني رحمة من عنده إلى آخره. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the book, قال ونزلنا عليك الكتاب تبيانا لكل شيء. And we sent down the book to you, clarification for everything in your life, and a guidance, and a mercy, and a glad tidings for the believers. So it's a mercy. The other point is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God's mercy overcomes His wrath. In a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the authority of Abu Hurairah, قال لما خلق الله الخلق كتب في كتابه وهو يكتب على نفسه وهو وضع عنده على العرش. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed and wrote in a book for His own self subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look, the mercy of Allah. قال, and He put this book in His arsh. And the saying that Allah had written, Inna rahmati taghlibu ghadabi, my mercy indeed overcome my wrath. And any riwayah, Inna rahmati sabaqat ghadabi, rahmati will advance or precede my anger. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-An'am, كَتَبَ رَبُّكُمْ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ الرَّحْمَةِ. Allah has decreed on Himself mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 100 mercy. The mercy of Allah has 100 parts of mercy. Abu Hurairah narrated, I heard Allah's messenger saying, Allah divided mercy into 100 parts, and He kept its 99 parts with Him and sent down its one part on the earth. Subhanallah. So imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His mercy divided in 100 parts. And all the rahmah that we see on earth is one part of 100. إن لله مئة رحمة أنزل منها رحمة واحدة بين الجن والإنس. This rahmah is between all the creatures. Even you see the animal lifting, the mother animal, lifting his leg to not step on her baby. That's from the rahmah which is from this part of 100 parts. قال between jinn الإنس and the animals and والهوام فبها يتعاطفون وبها يترحمون وبها تعطف الوحش على ولدها. With this only part of rahmah, everyone has this compassion and rahmah and kindness and everything, and all the animals with their subhanallah children. حتى ترفع الدابة حافرها. Also the action that you see that I have mentioned, the dabba, the cattle will lift its leg, fearing that it will hurt the baby. That's from this part of this rahmah. And the 99 parts, Allah delayed them for their judgment. Alhamdulillah, نسأل الله أن يتغمدنا برحمته. Grasping the scope of Allah's mercy. Sometimes we say, how merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam took advantage of an event, a picture, a scene, to teach the Sahaba how can we measure in our concept, in our mind, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال, some captives were brought before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and behold, a woman among them was milking her breast to feed, and whenever she found a child among the captives, she took it over her chest and nursed it. She had lost her child, but later she found him. The Prophet said to us, do you think that this lady can throw her son in the fire? I mean, she's so merciful. She lost her son, and she was giving her milk to everybody, to every baby who's like suffering, who does not have. And then she found her kid. So the Prophet said, do you think that this lady can throw her son in the fire? We replied, no, if she has the power not to throw it in the fire. The Prophet ﷺ then said, Allah is more merciful to His servant than this lady to her son. Can you imagine? So someone thinks of your own mother, how merciful are your parents. So Allah is more merciful than them to you. And this is a great teaching of the Prophet ﷺ to give us a perspective of the rahmah. Because we see rahmah is beautiful, but what is its perspective? How can we grasp it? When someone thinks about the more merciful to us, close to us, may be your parents, then Allah is more merciful than us. The next point is how a human attribute of mercy, the human attribute of mercy. Rahmah is from the akhlaq, from the conduct, from the moral, from the character, great character, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanding the believer or whoever to have it as a character. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam by being rahmah. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We only sent you as a mercy to the worlds. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنَتُمْ حَرِيصٌ. He's eager, to guide you. And with the believer, He is so ra'uf, kind, rahim, and merciful. فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ is with the rahmah of Allah that He became soft and lenient to them. And if you were hard heart, with the hard and harsh with them, they will have disbanded from among you. ومن أسمائه صلى الله عليه وسلم نبي الرحمة, the Prophet of the Rahmah. Also, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he praised the best of the companion. قال أرحم أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر. The more merciful among my ummah, with my followers, my ummah, is Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And hadith, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أن الرحمة تنال عباد الرحماء. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give to mercy for His merciful servant. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hadith, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما يرحم الله من عباده الرحماء. Allah will have mercy on His servants who are merciful. And the other hadith, he said, "Irhamu man fil ardi, yarhamukum man fis sama." Have mercy on the people, on the servant on earth. The one in the heaven will have mercy on you. لا يرحم الله من عباده إلا الرحماء. Allah only have mercy only on those who are merciful. So you see here, when we study the attribute of Allah, this is the way also how to act upon the attribute of Allah. So if you want the benefit of the mercy of Allah, you have to act to be merciful too. And the Prophet ﷺ قال من لا يرحم الناس لا يرحمه الله. Whoever who is not merciful to people, Allah will not have mercy on him. وعن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها قال قدم ناس من الأعراب على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالوا أتقبلون صبيانكم. Some Bedouin, they came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم and he saw things strange. They saw people kissing their kids. For them, they're so harsh. I mean, kissing a kid, it's, it's like you are so lenient and soft. How can you stand in war? فقال تقبلون صبيانكم. They were so ignorant. فقالوا نعم. He said نعم. فقالوا لكنا والله ما نقبل. They said, we use not to do it because they think this is not right. It's make them like not look good. I mean, make them be soft, or so to be rude, someone strong and a person called the fairest a knight, you should not kiss your children. You have to be like, always rigid. When they see the kids, they need to be scared and run away. That's you are true, you are brave. But they said, yes, we used to not do it. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم is like the Prophet قال وأملك إن كان الله نزع منكم الرحمة. So the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, what I can do, I mean, doing such a thing is like Allah took away the mercy from your heart. Then they realize kissing the kids is out of mercy. It's like when someone does not hug their kids and they kiss them, it's like, preventing the rahmah to get in his heart. قال وأملك إن كان الله نزع منكم الرحمة. I mean, what can I do for you if Allah took away the rahmah from your heart? Subhanallah. Obedience to Allah is a cause of mercy. So that's another point, which is how to act on the mercy of Allah, or how to gain the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The human being or the servant of Allah, the closer is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more worthy of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أي كلما كان العبد طائعا لله ورسوله, the more the person is obedient to Allah and His Messenger, acting upon the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, كان استحقاقه للرحمة أعظم. Then he will have the right or more portion of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. And obey Allah and His Messenger that you may be, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on Allah. That may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on you. وَهَذَا كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ مُبَارَكٌ. And this is a book we have sent it full of goodness, all of blessing. Follow it and fear Allah that you might have mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the condition of mercy. These are the condition of mercy. However, it's very important point here. We should not give the title of the mercy. What I mean about that? You should not want something and call it mercy. Someone want to buy something in you. He said, Ya Allah, give it to me. This, I feel this is my rahmah from Allah. You understand? Someone want to get a certain job, and he feel that's the rahmah that he's seeking. No, do not title your mercy. The title thing you say, this is a mercy from, I want it from Allah, because, Ya Allah, give me rahmah by giving me this. You are dictating on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is already, have overwhelming you with His rahmah. So let Allah give you His rahmah, not you suggest what type of rahmah you want. Because when you suggest that type of rahmah, you're not obeying Allah. You are kind of putting, kind of conflicting with the first rule of the submission, that you are not submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What the people of the cave, they said, when they stood by the cave, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ وَهَيِّئْ لَنَا مِنْ أَمْرِنَا. طيب, what was the rahmah? The rahmah, Allah caused them to sleep for 300 years. Will they thought about, will they think like, said, Ya Allah, make us sleep 309 years? After they make the dua, قَالَ فَضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ, we cast on their ears, so they will not have to be connection with the word. And when you think about it, it's the ultimate mercy that they can have. They are, subhanAllah, fleeing from their people. Their people, if they find them, they force them to disbelieve, or they're going to kill them. Okay? So what we have here, people, they are in a state of distress, anguish, scared. Then they don't have food, and they cannot do anything. So the only thing, subhanAllah, that will be safe for them is to sleep. They will not be aware of anything. They're going to not be aware of food. They're not going to be like hungry. SubhanAllah, after 309 years, the first thing that they ask for is food. Go find, he said, قال with ورقكم هذا فليأتنا بطعام أزكى طعام. Subhanallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spared them from all the worries, from all the distress, from all the anguish. And He saved them. Who will come in his mind to ask Allah to make them sleep for 300 years? He said, Ya Allah, give us rahmah. But we want the rahmah to be this way. We want to find a place where to do this. No. Say, Allah, rahmah, He'll take care of you. That's why you say, do not put title to the rahmah. Because when I say, I want this, Ya Allah, He said, hold on. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who knows, or you know? Because maybe what you have asked is not good for you. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. Another ayah in Surah An-Nur. Establish prayer, pay the zakat, and obey the messenger, that you may have mercy from Allah. إِنَّ رَحْمَةَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ مِّنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Indeed, the mercy of Allah is near the good doers. Allah is calling some of His favor mercy. Allah calling some of His favor mercy. Example, He called the rain, call it mercy. وَهُوَ الَّذِي يُرْسِلُ الرِّيَاحَ بُشْرًا بَيْنَ يَدَيْ رَحْمَتِهِ. He sent the winds as glad tidings to His mercy. The mercy here is the rain. He called His provision rahmah. وَإِمَّا تُعْرِضَنَّ عَنْهُمْ ابْتِغَاءَ رَحْمَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكَ. If you're going to turn away from them because seeking rahmah here, seeking provision, seeking, provision of food and things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it rahmah. That's why you say Bismillah and you finish, you say Alhamdulillah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called His book, the Quran, rahmah. And Allah called the Jannah rahmah. وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ ابْيَضَّتْ وُجُوهُهُمْ فَفِي رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ هُمْ خَالِدُونَ. Those whose faces will be glowing with light, they will be in for eternity in the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's beautiful to call the Jannah rahmah. Because there is ayah in Surah Hud, which is make people to have a question about it, which is when you think about it, it's very clear. I mean, but some people sometimes they think not in the proper way, or like submitting to the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then the interpretation or the explanation should be clear to them. In Surah Hud, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and you see how beautiful this ayah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the people in hellfire, they will be in hellfire as long as the heaven and the earth exist, except what Allah wills. Here, the wretched one will be in the fire, sighing and groaning, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, staying there forever, as long as the heaven and the earth will endure, except what your Lord wills. Surely your Lord does what He intends. So you might think like, maybe if fire come to an extension, what about paradise? The same. قال, and as for those destined to joy, those who are destined to be joyful, prosperous, they will be in paradise, abiding therein as long as the heaven and the earth endures, except what your Lord should will. Okay? So he say, and then he said, a generous given without end, غير مجدود, non-interrupted. But here the interpretation is this, except what Allah wills. Of course, Allah only happen what Allah wills. So this exception, it does not mean that it's going to end, but exception that to show that everything is always under the control of Allah. But for the scholar, for the opinion, say the hellfire will come to an end, extension, because hellfire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it to cleanse all the evil that happened in this, cosmos, to be neutralized. So the hellfire is neutralized. That's why people from the believer who said, the testimony of faith, and he was a believer, he will be, paying and burn in hellfire, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, then he'll come out. And the last one will come out 50,000 years after, subhanAllah, they neutralize and cleanse everything. So what if everything neutralized will end? Allahu Alam, some scholars, they say yes. Among them is the Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah. But what about the Jannah? I mean, if the thing is going to end, we're going to be feeling bad. It will not end. Why? Because the Jannah is the rahmah of Allah. And the rahmah of Allah never comes to an end. It's beautiful. عطاء غير مجدود, with no end. It's the rahmah of Allah. ففي رحمة الله. The Jannah is the mercy of Allah. طيب. Al-Aziz. As we said, we're going to take few names to help you in a way, have you grasp of the name, how to study them. We said we take Al-Ghazali, and then more comments from the book that I'm taking here, النهج الأسمى في شرح أسماء الحسنى. Ghazali is very short, however, it gives you the idea, or like the concept of the name, to help you have the full comprehensive image of it. So who is Al-Aziz? So there's two definitions of the Aziz. So Al-Ghazali has only one definition, and then we'll continue the other definition to complete the whole meaning. So Al-Aziz is something that is scarce, you cannot get it. Something, it's like, for example, rare, diamonds. Things is really scarce and difficult to find. So Al-Azizu is the one whose existence is scarce. And the need for him intensifies, making access to him difficult. So these are the three elements in the first meaning of the aziz. It's like scarce existence, in general, the meaning of the aziz. Difficult to get to it or to reach it. And the need for this aziz, the thing that people that cannot find, intensifies by the increase of the need. Unless the three meaning converge, the name of Al-Aziz is not applied. Okay? So, if something is scarce but nobody needed, it's not Aziz. Something scarce and is needed, and maybe there's easy way to get to it, there's not as Aziz. Many things may be scarce in existence, but if their dangers is not magnified and their benefit is not abundant, they are not called Aziz. Here, the danger here means is not danger actually. Its greatness is value. Khataruh here it has different meaning. Is not magnified, and their benefit is not abundant. They are not called Aziz. Similarly, some things may pose great danger and have abundant benefits, and there is no equivalent to them. However, if access to them is not difficult, they are not called Aziz. So to take us that only Allah is Al-Aziz. Take the sun, for example. It has no equal, and the earth is the same. Both have immense benefits, and the need for them is profound. Still, they are not described with Al-Aziz. Because access to observing them is not difficult. Thus, the conversion of these three meanings is necessary for the application of the name of Al-Aziz. So then, in each of the three meanings, there is a perfection and deficiency. Perfection in the scarcity of existence is when it is attributed to one. There is no less than one. And it is such that the existence of its like becomes impossible. This is none other than Allah the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it's scarce, you might find copies of it or things. But here when it comes, Al-Aziz, the only that exists is only Allah is one, and there's not less than one, So it becomes the only true here in this first element that is really difficult to find or is unique. Is only one, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. While the sun, for instance, is one existence, it is not one in possibility. The existence of its like is possible in terms of perfection, and there's now in outer space many other suns. Scarcity and the intensity of need, everything depends on it in every aspect, even in its existence, continuity and attributes. However, this perfection belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when it said, okay, scarce, unique, and then, there's need for it. Now, if you magnify this need to the point that everything depends on it, in every aspect, even in its existence, continuity and attributes, there's the only one that apply for him this name, this attribute is Allah. Perfection in difficulty of attainment is when it becomes impossible to access it in the sense of comprehending its essence. Because when you comprehend the essence of things, you can manipulate it, you can control it, But if you cannot know the essence of it, it becomes so unique, and you are in need of it, and you are in awe of this thing. Only this applies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A need of it for all aspects of our life, our continuity, our existence, and everything. Again, this perfection is exclusive to Allah, the Almighty. We have explained that no one knows Allah except Allah. He is the absolute mighty, the true, without equal in this regard. Subhanahu. Now, who can be Aziz from al-Ibad in this meaning? Aziz from the al-Ibad in this meaning. Aziz is difficult to find like this person. The Aziz among the servant of God is the one needed by the servant of Allah in their crucial matters, namely the hereafter and eternal happiness. Because you put it in perspective, people they need for money, those people like, it's not true need because this is like vain, futile things. So the true Aziz is the person that's going to be needed in the eternal happiness and into the hereafter. This is something whose existence is unquestionable and difficult to comprehend. This is the rank of the prophets, alayhimus salam. So the true Aziz from among the servant are the prophet. Those who share in their might are those who stand out in proximity to their status in their era. Such are the Khalifas and their successor from the scholars, and those will be teaching people and everything. Those will be someone Aziz. Aziz, respected and have people, they need them. They need them for the guidance and so on. So the dignity of each one of them corresponds to elevation of their rank away from the ease of attainment and participation in proportion to their effort in guiding creation, guiding the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is how to inspire from the attribute of the Aziz, who can be truly Aziz, someone who's guiding and people, they need him. طيب. Now, in the other meaning of Al-Aziz, inshallah we'll finish it before. So Al-Izza, Al-Azizu, Al-Azizu, he's the Almighty. Al-Izza is the honor, the power. Has also the definition of dignity, strength, firmness, and triumph. And Al-Aziz had then the meaning of being invincible, neither defeated nor conquered. So this is the second meaning. The second meaning of being powerful, invincible, firmness, power, and everything. So here, Al-Azizu الذي له العزة كلها. عزة القوة وعزة الغلبة وعزة الامتناع فامتنع أن يناله أحد من المخلوقات وقهر جميع الموجودات ودانت له الخليقة وخضعت لعظمته. So the mighty one who possesses all honors, the honor of strength, the honor of triumph, and the honor of being reached. Nobody can equal him, nobody can be a rival to him, nobody can come close to him. He refrains from being reached by any of the creature, overpowers all being, and creation has submitted to his greatness. That's a definition of Al-Aziz. So we have the first meaning, as we have mentioned, scarce in people, the whole creation, they need them. And this one, add to it the honor, the strength, the power, and so on. So nobody, as we said here, Al-Aziz قال neither defeated nor conquered. Invincible subhanahu wa ta'ala. القدوس السلام العزيز 135. Key effects of believing in Al-Aziz, and we finish with this one بإذن ta'ala. And these are things that also help us to get in perspective the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how we'll be able to implement them and to adhere them in a way in our life. Just I'm trying to find it. Sorry, I lost the page. Find it, inshallah. Al-Quddus, Al-Azizu. 135. Maybe in the طيب. طيب خير, let's stop here بإذن الله, because if I'm gonna find this is gonna take you more. Let's finish next time the key effects of believing in Al-Aziz, how someone, there's beautiful stories. You can, I'll invite you to reflect on it and see, for example, the story of Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun and the impact of believing in Al-Aziz. Because if you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Al-Aziz, He had the power, invincible, and He has subhanahu wa ta'ala has power all over creation, and you can implement it today on how to strengthen your iman when you're seeing the genocide happening in Gaza. Believing in Al-Aziz, it will help us today, inshallah ta'ala. We'll continue. The name of Al-Aziz is also combined with the Rahim. If you have time, you can study read Surah Al-Shu'ara. Surah Al-Shu'ara. And you can say Al-Aziz Al-Rahim, how it's mainly in Surah Al-Shu'ara, maybe mentioned almost 11 times. The other name that we're going to study is Al-Razzaq. It's a beautiful name, how to understand the meaning of the rizq, inshallah ta'ala, and few other names, inshallah, to continue or finish the class next week, inshallah ta'ala. Any question? Any question online? I'm not seeing it.
Some of the conditions for mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of the conditions of the mercy of Allah
Is to be obey Allah and His Messenger and be merciful to the people.
and do salah and things like that.
Yeah, obey Allah and Messenger include everything. And be merciful to the people. And mercy to the people, just to explain it, the Prophet ﷺ said, help your brother when he's oppressed, when he's oppressor. They said, we understand how to help him when he's oppressed, but how can we help him when he's oppressor? He said, stop them from doing ill thing. That is rahmah. So not the rahmah to understanding from everything positive, nice, quiet, kindness. No, the rahmah is, for example, to admonish a person from doing ill thing, that you have rahmah on this person. The way how Ibrahim was calling his father, قال يا أبت لا تعبد الشيطان. Do not worship the shaitan. I fear that the most merciful will cast you with his punishment. Merciful and punishment. You see? So the rahmah, it's not always what we think like positive. The rahmah is what you help a person to follow the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fadl, sister. You have a question? Well, the advice, it requires sincerity, and the sincerity is to intend for this person to change and stop what they're doing. Then the advice is going to go based on what the Prophet ﷺ told us. If someone knows the person closely, maybe he can be harsh with them. If they don't know them, then they say for them words that really should shake their hearts. But words like structured, not like, there's insult in them, but things that really shake their hearts, reminder and everything. And if these people, they don't want to change, then we turn away from them. We desert them. We delete their account, unfriend them. They say they unfriend, and then that's it. Because that's the way to protect ourselves too. But that's the maximum, because we're not going to force people again. No, we don't. Allah yahfadhkum. Any other question? Yes. Huh? Everybody, even if someone's cousin, someone has to admonish them. But if they insist on their sin, someone should not be with them. Maintaining the kinship is different than, enjoying good and forbid evil. Because this person is already part of your family. If they come, you see them, you greet them, but it does not mean like he's part of your family. You need to be associating with them, even though they don't want to stop to do the ill thing. Actually, the whole family, you need to know about this person, so they will be aware, or to help them. Not aware like to make them like, as a scandal. No, to help them to change. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about the parents. He said, do not obey them if they call you to disbelieve or to shirk. But still treat them nice. Treat them nice. If a person asks for help, you help them. That they know that you oppose and you are against of what they do. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم إن شاء الله. الله يحفظكم.